I have 2 half-an-hour presentations coming up, and I'm pretty nervous. Hey guys, it's Taya, and as you can tell from the title, this video is going to be all about how to survive presentations. I feel like we all have this in common where we are extremely nervous for oral speaking and giving presentations. I have 2 presentations coming up this week, and I'm hoping I survive, but you never know. So I'm going to be using all of these tips to hopefully not die during all those presentations. So my first tip is to practice, practice, practice. When I know that I'm prepared before a presentation, it eases a lot of my anxiety. Also, if there are any words or syllables that I know I'm going to have trouble with in the presentation, I will find tips and ways to ease into those syllables and words that work for me. I know that I personally have trouble with words that start with H and some words that start with a vowel. So I will be using those tips that I learned in speech therapy, like slowly easing into the word, taking a breath before starting the word, and basically anything that works for you will help during the presentation. And if you're worried about getting stuck on that word, you can think, oh, well, I have techniques that will work so I won't mess up or I won't get stuck. My next tip is to practice speaking while being consciously aware that your throat is open and you're always letting air through. That is something that I learned in speech therapy, that when we stutter, our vocal cords are shutting. So if you are just always consciously being aware about whether your throat is open or closing, then that will really help you to pay attention to your breaths and therefore making you speak a lot easier. That's actually what I'm doing right now, and that's why my speech is being pretty fluent. I'm just making sure that my throat is open, that I'm always taking deep breaths. Another thing to do beforehand is to practice your presentation and imagine it going really well. Just imagine you being so happy afterwards, so happy during the presentation, and just act confident and believe that it's going to go well. Another tip is to redirect your anxiety into energy. I know that when we are having a lot of anxiety, it feels like we're shaking, we're sweating, we need to move or else we're just gonna keep on freaking out. So if you're having a lot of anxiety during a presentation, turn that into energy by expressing your voice in movements and using your hand gestures, and overall just turning it into positive and confident energy. Another thing that really helps with me, especially when I'm just having a conversation with a person, is to have something visual that you are showing them. Like for me, I'm going to be having a slideshow for both of my presentations, therefore my viewers will be looking at the slideshow rather than at me most of the time. So that helps a lot if you're giving a presentation. The next ones are pretty important, and that is to not expect perfection. I know that especially with me, I'm very tough on myself if I stutter once. But I just kind of learned over time to not expect myself to speak perfectly. I know that maybe I'll mess up a few times, and that's okay. I don't need to be perfect all the time. And this kind of goes along with my next point, being that your presentation should not be a representation of your self-worth. Sorry, that was hard for me to say. Self-worth. You are so much more than your presentation skills. Most people are extremely nervous about presentations, but that shouldn't equate to whether they feel good about themselves or bad about themselves. A presentation is just a presentation. Now the next point has to do with kind of tricking your mind into feeling confident and not nervous. Now this might sound like a silly thing to you, but if somebody asks you whether you're nervous about your presentation, just say no. Although it might be a lie, saying no might make yourself believe that you are not nervous, and it might lessen your anxiety. This next point I actually learned when I went to counseling. So any of you who saw my post in the stuttering group chat on Facebook, I posted about whether I should go to counseling or not. And I actually decided to go because I was like, what the hey, like maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I discussed about presentation anxiety. And what the counselor was saying is that many people, what they do if they are feeling nervous is they will channel somebody who they really admire and who maybe is very good at public speaking. So what you are going to do is kind of visualize as if you were switching bodies or you were switching minds. Let's say I had a favorite public speaker and they are amazing at giving speeches and they are just so confident and positive. I'm just going to take a deep breath, pretend that like we switched minds or something, and now I am them. It takes a bit of practice to kind of like meditate on it and think about being another person, which sounds very weird, but it actually helps a lot. It just kind of helps to like change your mindset and change the way that you are thinking. This next tip really has to do with like our stutter and the way that it changes depending on our environment. So you know how you can sing completely fine and you can whisper completely fine? Why don't you sing your presentation or whisper it when you're practicing? Just doing that and knowing that you can say your presentation fluently, even though you are whispering or like adjusting your voice a little bit differently. What's the difference between you whispering it and speaking it? See, you can say it completely fine, and you are going to say it completely fine in the moment. You just kind of have to believe that although the environment is different and although your voice might be a little bit different, what makes that change your stutter? It shouldn't. And lastly, I just want to mention that your anxiety is all in your head. You are kind of thinking about it so much that it is giving you anxiety. So try and think of it as this is all a trick that your mind is playing on you. You aren't actually nervous. You're going to do great. It is going to go so well. And this is all something that you made up in your head. A presentation is literally just you talking to a few of your friends or peers. It's not something that is incredibly like professional. It doesn't have to be insanely perfect. You are just having a conversation with a few people about a topic that you enjoy, or maybe you don't enjoy, but you're having a conversation about a topic with these people, and that's all it is. I really hope that you guys can benefit from these tips, and if you have a presentation coming up, let me know how it goes for you, because I'll definitely be telling you how my presentations go. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you have any other video suggestions, leave them in the comments below. I will see you very soon. Bye.